Hello and welcome. I'm Tyler DeGiacomo here with the women's track and field coach and cross country coach, Coach DJ Bevevino. Coach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. Thank you for sitting down with us. We do appreciate it. Now, Coach, you are a highly successful track and field coach in high school and college and a former Clarion All-American diver. And you're in your fourth season this year as head coach of the women's cross country team and fifth as the head coach of the women's track and field team. Coach, just talk about how it feels coming back to your alma mater and coaching.
That was one of the biggest attractions I think I had for this position itself. Is I grew up in the town, and then I came to school here, spent 4 years in Tip and Gym as a springboard diver on a very successful swimming and diving team, and I had a tremendous experience here, both as an athlete and as a student. I got my degree in education, went on to teach, taught in the area, but actually moved out of Clarion for a little bit, so I haven't lived here all my life, but nearly. And when this opportunity, first I had the opportunity to come back up to Clarion High School to work as a guidance counselor and ultimately retire as assistant principal. And the reason I retired was to come here because the opportunity was presented to me to be, possibly be the coach here for cross country track and field. I personally had such a great experience here that I thought there's no way I couldn't go back there and try to relive some of that, the memorable times I had. So it was just such an attraction, I couldn't pass it up.
Now, as you mentioned, Coach, you have spent most of your life here. Your family lives here now in the Clarion area. Just talk about what you love so much about the Western Pennsylvania and Clarion area itself.
Well, the longer I'm here, the more I don't love it. I will say that. The weather's starting to get to me, my age, I guess. I like the rural area, not having quite as many problems as a more urban area. My childhood was tremendous here, and I mean we ran the town, the streets of the town, without a worry. And when I had the chance to come back, and I thought, this was a great place for me to raise my family as well. I feel safe here. The environment that the university brings that adds, we add some cultural diversity just by having the university here in our community. I think that's great exposure for my children who otherwise would grow up in a small rural white community in Western Pennsylvania. But I think the fact that it was safe, it's small enough that I didn't have to worry about what my kids were doing every minute of the day. The public education at the high school I felt was good and still feel was a very good program. I thought this was the place to be. So, I've been comfortable here. I wouldn't trade it right now.
Now you have coached at the high school level and the collegiate level. Is there any differences between coaching at the high school level and a collegiate level?
I would say there's a few differences. My experiences at the high school level have been mostly with male athletes, first of all. I've coached track and field. I coached track and field at the high school level for 30 years. I was actually a head varsity football coach for 5 years. I've coached senior high basketball. I've coached baseball in the community. I've done all that with male athletes. And fortunately, my last 5 years at the high school, I was the cross country coach of a co-ed program. So I got to work with female athletes for the first time at that point. When I came to this level, then I had a couple good things going for me. One is one of Clarion High School former athletes was here, and she was a very successful track athlete in college as well. She helped me make the transition and helped me realize that we can train the women pretty much the same as the men as far as training is concerned, and have similar expectations. There's no reason to think that they can't be successful, and as long as you train hard and do the right things. I would treat them the way I would have treated my athletes at high school. There is probably a difference. I've never been around that many girls at one time, and sometimes I go home pulling my hair out, but it has very little to do with the training part of it and the coaching part of it. It's just socially they're quite a social bunch.
Now, speaking about your girls, as you talked about, they're off to a good start this year, had a very good showing at Lehigh this past weekend. Just talk about what you've been happy about this year so far and what they can work on going forward.
Okay. I'm happy with effort, and that's all I ever ask of any of my athletes at this point is, all you can do week in and week out is try your hardest. And I don't have reason to believe right now that they aren't doing that. It's so hard to compare. On a track, on a flat track, it's easy to compare performances week to week. You're running 400-meter track, you're running a specified distance. There's no hills, there's no, whatever that you have to negotiate in cross country. So it's hard in cross country to actually compare results week to week. And I found that a little bit frustrating, because more for the girls than it is for me. They can look at a performance of a couple weeks ago we ran in Lock Haven, and they all ran their best times by far of the season, and then go out to Lehigh under really atypical conditions. First of all, the course itself, Lock Haven's is flat. There can't be a rise of more than 10 feet on their course. Lehigh has some hills. They're not mountains, but they have hills. The conditions at Lehigh Saturday necessitated them canceling the last 7 races. It was hot, humid. They couldn't keep, the emergency medical personnel couldn't keep up with the demand. There were people passing out, right and left. So conditions completely different. Really difficult to say, well, let's look at that time, and let's look what you did a couple weeks ago and say, how come it was a slower time? Well, there's all sorts of reasons to explain the time difference, but the effort difference, there shouldn't be. I shouldn't have to think like, well, you obviously didn't work as hard this week. And I don't have that situation. The girls work hard. Cross country is a unique sport in a sense of that everybody's doing exactly the same thing. Coaching football, you had positions. In track and field, you have events. In cross country, everybody's running the same race. And so it makes it a more unified group, I believe, because they are all doing the same things. Their practices are the same. Even though we can't always practice together, they're always having the same practice. And it tends to allow itself to form a really nice unit of people to work. And I think teammates will not allow teammates then to take a day off, or a race off. You're going to hear about it from one of your teammates. They don't have to wait to hear from me. So it's truly rewarding, and I'm real pleased with what we're doing so far. A lot of people don't understand. We don't have a big enough team that we're going to go to a race like at Lehigh or a race at any of the other competitions we go to and be a contender for the trophies and whatnot. But we are trying to get ready so that we can go to the conference meet, the regional meet, and have a strong performance.
Now, speaking on an individual basis, senior Megan Toddy has had an outstanding career here at Clarion. She was an NCAA qualifier last year. Just talk about what that means to her, you, the team, and how that national exposure to Clarion.
I couldn't be happier for Megan. First of all, I think for her, qualifying in the national championships last year, outdoor in the steeplechase, was a pleasant surprise. Not something that we anticipated. And the steeplechase is somewhat unique. Most high schools don't run it, so they haven't had exposure to it. I've had a couple girls decide they want to do it and they want to be good at it. Unfortunately, last year we went through the whole outdoor season, never had water in the water jump, so we never even got to practice water jumps, which was probably Megan's biggest downfall too. And we will certainly rectify it this year. But the fact that Megan has been successful, she came out of a successful program in Wadsworth, Ohio, and she has been successful here both in cross country and in distance running in track and field. And to move to that event, which gave her a little bit better opportunity to compete, because some of the distance runners won't try it. It's a little bit scary, to be honest. The barriers aren't like hurdles; they don't move. And she actually, in one of her next to the last races before the conference meet, face planted into the water pit on their last lap. I mean, those kind of things can happen. But for Megan, it was just a tremendous culmination of hard work and determination. And what it does for our program is, I've been fortunate. I've been 4 years outdoor track and field. 3 of those years I've been to the national championships with an athlete. And it's so great to go and be there and wear the Clarion colors and know that we've represented the university at a national championship, and we're not nobody. We're at least recognized by some of the fellow coaches, and it's rewarding, very rewarding.
Switching back to the team as a whole, you got a bunch of underclassmen on this team. Just talk about what you see out of them and their progression down the road?
The underclassmen, starting with the junior class, I have Malia Shaw, Kelly Wyatt, Susan Timko actually is a junior. Susan transferred, that's why I couldn't think of her. She transferred from Slippery Rock to Clarion last year, so she actually came in as a sophomore. But Megan and Kelly have been here for 2 years and have been big parts of our program. Or not Megan, but Malia and Kelly. And I will, already looking forward to next fall, look to them to be the leaders of the team, and to help bring the other people along. I'll go all the way down to my freshman class now. Right now, my number 3 runner is a freshman, Danielle Bensel, and Danielle's run very well for us. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to go this past weekend, or we would have had a better showing at Lehigh. And Kelsey Murray, the other freshman, they've worked their way into the top 5 or 6 runners, and it's kind of promising. The year before, I didn't have a real good recruiting class. I lost some people. I thought I was going to have one of the best runners in this area this year, and she decided not to go to college. So this group has really kind of put it together and done very well, and it really gives me a lot of hope for what's coming up in the future.
Now, final question. You have the PSAC championships coming up end of the month at Kutztown. Do you see any girls breaking out by them, or what are you going to do as a coach to make sure the girls are at their top shape by that point?
And that's a good question. It's a fair question. And I guess that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about comparing times and so on and so forth. I'm not time conscious right now, but I know what we have done the last couple of years has worked as far as what we will do over the next 3 weeks training-wise. We start to back off a little bit on the amount of mileage we're doing. We start to speed up a little bit on the interval speeds that we're running, and we'll try to rest them and have them, tip-top shape and ready to go. And like I said, the last couple of years we've gone into conference meet and run incredibly faster, in my opinion. It might be a little biased, but incredibly faster at the championship meets than we did earlier, because all the other times we've been training pretty hard, and that's what I keep telling them. We're training through this other stuff. We'll try to get ready for the championship. I think it's interesting. Megan Toddy last year did not make all conference, but she turned around in the regional meet 2 weeks later, and she became all region by placing in the top 20. She didn't make top 20 in the conference meet. So, I expect Megan to have another very, very strong year. The Pennsylvania State Conference, athletic conference in distance running, men's and women's, is incredibly strong. We recognize that. I'm not expecting anybody to all of a sudden jump up into the top 10 and do something they haven't done previously. But I think we, as a team, we have a chance to have a pretty good showing if I can get this group convinced that they need to run together as a pack and support each other and pull each other along. If we could make the top 10, it would be an outstanding accomplishment. If I could get, not me, but if Megan, she should be able to make all conference this year. We could get a surprise from Malia, Danielle, or Kelly, even Sarah maybe, and jump up in there. If they run out of their heads for a day, who knows what could happen.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about the track and field, the cross country, anything that we have to know about the team?
The only other thing I would say is this, that, and this was interesting to me. I had 4 girls that are typically track girls, not cross-country runners at all, that came out. I encouraged them over the summer to let's do some training, because I really think it can pay off for you come the end of February and again at the end of April, early May. Because those are long seasons. We started indoor track practices last week, and the girls that are in track will be training from now until May. The girls in cross country have been training, since this summer really, but officially training in August. They'll go to May, and so our team, right now we have 2 separate programs going. We'll all become unified here in end of November and December, and then that hopefully that cross country experience and that unification can carry over into the track and field, and they've set a good example for us and paved the way for an outstanding indoor and outdoor track season.